Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Dellivery podcast, a podcast normally dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. This series of interviews, though, is dedicated to the Southampton Women's Football Club, and we start with club captain Kirsty Bell. I interviewed Kirsty on the last day of September prior to their match against the Southampton Saints Girls and Ladies Football Club, a match which they went on to win 3-1. Each time we sit down with a member of the Southampton Women's Football Club, the interview will be posted here on this playlist for you to enjoy, aside from being on an episode of the actual Southampton Dellivery podcast, which can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, or wherever else you get your podcasts. I hope you enjoy this interview. Please feel free to send any feedback to me on Twitter at SFCDELL_IVERY or on Facebook at facebook.com/SFCDellivery. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel so that you do not miss future episodes of this show. With that being said, I hope you enjoy this, and let's get to the interview with Kirsty Bell. We'd like to welcome to the Southampton Dellivery podcast a very special guest. We have Kirsty Bell, the captain of the Southampton Women's Football Club, here to join us and talk a little bit about the team. Kirsty, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Hiya, thank you very much for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, it's the pleasure is mine, and as we were saying earlier, I really enjoyed talking to Lee over the summer, and we kind of had this idea to do this, and I think this is great for especially fun for me, and I hope you enjoy it as well, and hopefully we can spread some awareness and about the women's game and things like that. So first off, if people want to follow you on Twitter, they can do that at KIRST1937, and the women's club is at SOTON Women's FC, all on Twitter, and the links are in the show notes. But Kirsty, this show is normally about Saints, so I have to ask you, are you indeed a Saints fan? And if not, this interview may be very short. So
I am indeed. I'm a season ticket holder, and I have been for about 22 years, through the highs and the lows.
Yes, yeah. And where do you sit, if I can ask?
I sit right in the heart of the northern end, next to the away fans.
And you like that?
Yeah, I love it. I wouldn't change it.
How long have you been in that area?
I've been in that area since we moved to St Mary's from the Dell. But no, it's just a good atmosphere. I wouldn't want to sit in the library end. I don't know. I just like being involved and singing along.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you originally from the area of Southampton, or are you from somewhere else and you moved there at a young age, or?
I'm actually from Winchester, which is about 20 minutes north of Southampton. I've lived in Winchester pretty much all my life, and I just travelled to the Saints games and travelled to play for Southampton. All
right. Today, the kind of goal is to talk more about you and more about the women's team, and I guess to kind of get to know you a little bit. And feel free to say no, I'm not answering that to any of these. But growing up, did you have a favorite footballer, whether it be Saints or a woman playing, or anybody that stood out to you as you were growing up?
It has always been Matt Letizier. He's always been my idol. And yeah, he's always been the one I wanted to watch all his DVDs, and also going to the Dell, watching him score. It's always been pretty amazing.
Did you go into the Dell when you were going to the Dell? You have family and things that went with you? Did anybody go with you, or was it just were you kind of alone in your support of Saints?
No, my mum and myself go together. We've always had a season together, and from this season, we've also got my niece coming along with us too. So it's pretty good.
And I know you play for the women's team, and that you guys play usually just Sundays, correct? Or do you sometimes? I know you sometimes have midweek games, but mostly is it just on the weekends?
Yeah, it's pretty much normally a 2:00 kickoff on a Sunday and the occasional midweek game.
So generally means what do you do during the day when you're not playing football?
I work. I work in a primary school teacher as a PE teacher. I've been there 12 years, where I also run the nurture group, helping different children, and used to be a tennis coach.
Now, primary school PE teacher, does that mean you have to teach all of the different classes, all of the different age groups, and everybody kind of rotates through you? That's how generally that's how they do it in the States.
I basically cover all the outdoor PE during the teachers' PPA, like planning sessions.
Okay.
So the teachers are responsible for the indoor stuff, and I take all the outdoor stuff.
What do you do when it rains? Because we were talking that it kind of happens a lot. Into the gym?
I tend to go through it, really.
Yeah?
Unless it's really bad and hideous, then I'll take them into the sports hall. But no, we try and stick it out, really. I think it's good for them.
All right. Now, talking more about your football career, and you're going to hear me say soccer because I'm from America, and it's kind of habit. I have to force myself to say football every time still. Okay. But during your football career, what has it been like? You haven't always played for Southampton, but kind of lead us through, and you can start kind of wherever you want, but what was your playing career like up until now?
Well, it was a very long time ago, being 33 now. I started at a young age playing with the boys team, at the times where you could play mixed age up until I think it was 13, just for a local team in the village. I then moved on to a all-girls team, played there for a few years. And then at 16, I actually went and played for Saints when they were linked to the men's club. And then after Saints, I went to AFC Bournemouth, AFC Wimbledon, and then here I found myself at Southampton Women.
All right. How you've been at the Southampton Women's Club for, I think you said like 7 years or so?
Yeah, I think it's about 7, 8 years, yeah.
During that time, how did you come to be the captain of the squad, which you are now?
Oh, goodness. I don't know, really. When I first joined, there was obviously already a captain there who was very good. I don't know. I don't really know, really. I think she gradually moved on, and when she left, I was made captain. And it just stayed the same in the last few years, I guess.
Had you been a captain on any of the other previous teams?
No, I haven't. No. So it was a first, but yeah.
Do you feel like an added sense of responsibility or pressure being the captain, or now that you've been it for a couple of years, it's just kind of normal?
Parts of it are normal and kind of go with the flow, but I think you do still feel the pressure and you do feel the responsibility, especially in the big games. And obviously last season when we were so successful, you do, have a sense of pride when you're lifting the cup and the trophy, I guess.
Talking about last season, can you kind of describe the end of the season for me, in terms of winning the double? That's obviously 2 huge accomplishments in winning promotion and all of that. What did that feel like as a player, even though you've had a fairly lengthy career? Had you ever experienced anything like that before? No,
I hadn't. A couple of years ago, we had a bit of a rough season. We didn't have many players, weren't sure what was happening. And then we pulled together and we obviously got promoted 2 seasons in a row. Last season, we always set ourselves high targets and, big goals. But, to win promotion and the cup was amazing, really. It was a really good feeling. Everyone was on board. The reserves also had a great season within their league, completely unbeaten. So the club had a really good feeling.
You've gone through some transition in terms of coaches and even the club secretary and all of these other things. Has that kind of changed how you, has there been a big culture shift at the club, or is it just kind of now everything seems to click a little bit better, or can you talk about that at all? Yeah, sure.
So obviously when I first started, it was maybe a little bit more casual. Some might describe it as. And then obviously we had Fran Alonso come in, who was brilliant for us at a time where we were struggling for numbers, maybe a bit of motivation for some players. Results weren't great, but he came in with Simon as his coach, and we had a new secretary, a new backroom staff who all worked really hard, and it just continued to grow, really. And you can see all the hard work behind the scenes and the results on the pitch. I think we all make a great team together, and I think that's showing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't like to talk about injuries and things like that too much, and some people don't want to talk about them at all. But you had an injury in June, and that was after everything was said and done with the league and the cup. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and then so coming back over the summer, trying to get back to full fitness and get out there, has that been tough for you?
Yeah, it's been tough. Yeah, as you said, I was out from June. I missed all the pre-season. So I've recently just come back maybe in the last 4 or 5 weeks, trained for a couple of weeks, and then I've had a few games in the reserves to try and get my fitness back and try and join in the first team squad. When we played Poole Town midweek, I got 25 minutes of the first team. I got another 90 last week of reserves, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Okay. Are you starting to feel like you're back, or do you feel parts of it not quite ready?
No, I'm feeling good. I feel I've worked hard. Ultimately you want to be back playing week in, week out at the highest level you can, and that's my aim. And I'm pretty much feeling back to full fitness at the moment.
Okay. Now you mentioned you're 33. I'm 32, and I go out and play with a bunch of kids. Some of them that I coached. I'm a high school teacher, so some of them I didn't coach. I taught them, and they obviously they get. Not obviously, they get a little bit surprised when they see me out there because I don't really, I didn't talk about that in class, and then now they're playing against me. But playing against kids who are younger, and I'm still going to call them kids even though they're 21 to 25. Do you see yourself a little bit differently being kind of one of the elders on the team and in playing against the girls that maybe are a little bit younger? Or do you just kind of, when you get out there, you just play and they're just an opponent or a teammate or anything else?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I mean, our team itself has a good variation of ages, a few more experienced, I'll put it, and a few younger ones. And no, when we come up against opposition teams, it's the same with them as well. And actually, I think sometimes the experience and the physical edge helps you against the younger ones who may be sometimes are slightly more naive. But obviously they're up and coming, and it's really good for the game. Yeah,
absolutely. This year, you guys obviously moved up a league for the second year in a row, as you said. Have you noticed anything differently? Is there a big difference between the league this year that you're in and the league you were in last year? Or is it kind of just more of the same and just seems to be like maybe you guys have progressed at the same time as everybody else and you're kind of, I guess, well adjusted to the league? You guys are undefeated at this point, so it seems like it's going okay. But does it feel any different when you're out there watching the teams that you're playing against or playing against them?
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a jump between the leagues from last season. Certainly, there are a few really good, strong teams in the league. I'd say the intensity of the game is a lot quicker. The demands are higher, but I think we're more than ready for it, which our first few games have shown. Yeah.
And obviously you have a big game coming up tomorrow. This interview won't be out by then, but you're playing against what I would perceive to be one of your biggest rivals, but I'll ask you a little bit about that in a second. But in terms of the team this season, what kind of targets have you guys set out, whether it's as a club or just as players in the locker room or just you individually? What are your targets this year in terms of the league and your play?
Well, obviously we want to do the best we can and win as many games as we can. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but we do take each game each week as it comes, but we always set out to win it, and we're more than confident in our own abilities. We want to be up there, pushing the others for the league at the end of the season.
You've been playing now for a long time. You mentioned that you're taking your niece with you to the Southampton games. Do you see yourself kind of as a role model to the girls that you teach and your niece and things like that, to show them that they can play football for as long as they want, or play sport, or do succeed kind of wherever they want? Even though I think obviously the men's game is bigger and gets more media attention, unless it's like with the England national team, the ladies recently, it's been kind of in a negative light. But is that a conscious thing that you're kind of thinking about as you're talking to your niece and talking to the kids at school, or is it just you just kind of play and then you encourage them when they want it?
No, like I do see myself as a role model. I mean, it's good that my niece, she's really keen on playing. She loves playing. She often asks questions, and I go and watch her games. She comes to watch my games. She was mascot for us in our cup final last year. But also the children at school, like the boys and the girls. I take the year 5-6 football team club, and they love it. And they're always asking questions of like whether I've played at the weekend, goals, results, things like that. And when I take them to tournaments and matches, and other schools tend to normally have a male teacher involved, our children love it.
That's awesome.
I think it's good for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I played baseball my entire life, and I was baseball players are very, very kind of superstitious about how they lead up to a game and everything else. And I was no different. What about you? Are you at all superstitious? Do you have any pre-match rituals that you have to go with?
Yeah, well, I'm generally very superstitious and very OCD anyway. So yeah, I have a lot of routines and rituals which the girls tend to just let me get on with and sort myself out. Really.
Do you get nervous before matches still, or are you kind of just even keel?
No, it's more exciting, especially for tomorrow's game. Can't wait for that one. Maybe a few nerves before cup finals or league winning games, but generally no, we're all pretty confident and believe in each other and work hard as a team. I don't really think I ever get nervous.
You have a favorite teammate to sit next to on an away trip?
Tricky one. Well, we tend to, unless it's the really far games, we tend to travel with ourselves or arrange our own cars. So
okay.
I normally go to the location, or so I do tend to travel with the same few people. But yeah, and I am suspicious as to where I sit in the changing room. But
all right. Looking back, have you played against one particular opponent that really stands out to you as maybe being the best?
When I first started playing, I played against some really good players. There was a couple at Everton, Arsenal, Charlton, who were just so good and so strong and physical, and I think they went on to play for England, and you're always going to remember those opponents.
You have a particular career highlight that stands out? If there was one moment in your career that you remember, and when people ask this question, this cliche question that you bring up?
Well, I'd probably say last year's league winning and cup winning season, lifting the trophy, probably my career highlight. I mean, it was a really good, successful season.
At the Southampton Women's Football Club, who is your biggest rival?
What, as in another team?
Yeah. Sorry. Well,
obviously Portsmouth are always going to be the rival. Just with the whole history between Southampton and Portsmouth, but whereas they're in another league, we're only going to meet them in the cup for the time being. But obviously there's Saints, so there's two female teams in Southampton, and so at the moment it's probably them.
Okay.
I mean, they've always been at least 2 leagues above us, and now we're in the same league as them. They're probably not liking that too much, but we're thriving in it, and we can't wait for the game tomorrow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I always had my coach that I had always said, envision yourself doing something kind of, great. When you go to bed the night before, you got to think about all this stuff. And so I tend to do that. But so say tomorrow you score the winner. How does it happen? Describe it. How will we remember that goal that you score tomorrow if it's the winner?
Wow, tricky question. I'm not particularly known for my goal scoring. I take the free kicks and the penalties, but apart from that, I'm not really known for them. So I wouldn't forget it in a hurry, that's for sure. And I'm sure we'll all be very, very happy. But at the end of the day, it is just another 3 points, and there's no point beating Saints if we're then going to go and lose to whoever next week.
Right. All right. Some listeners sent in some questions, and your coach was one of them. Do you mind if we go ahead and ask you some of those?
No. Fire away.
All right. So a couple here. One guy asked you if you can lend Southampton some goals, but we'll just let that one go.
Yeah, would be helpful.
VJ Chopra, who's at VJ, said, did the team expect their great start, given they were newly promoted to the WPL?
I wouldn't say it's a massive surprise. We believed in ourselves. We've worked hard as a team to reach this point. Obviously, I wasn't involved in pre-season, but everyone has worked really hard to get fit, training hard, working together on and off the pitch. So no, I wouldn't really say it's that much of a surprise. We have every confidence in ourselves that if we play to the best of our ability, then we're more than capable of winning and not conceding too many.
All right. Robbie, who's at Saints in France, says, having been an integral part of the rise and success of the team, do you foresee a future in coaching or management when you finish your playing career?
It's not something that I've thought of too much at the moment, because I just want to play for as long as I can, as long as I feel I'm good enough. But coaching, certainly, I'd like to go in and help children. I wouldn't say the managing side particularly particularly interests me too much. I'm not sure I'm one for making a tricky decision, let's say.
Yeah, well, sometimes management seems more almost, if you're a coach, you just get to work with the players. And that's really, you're a teacher, so that's probably a large part of your desire to help and to do things. You want to work actually with the kids. And I always say I didn't get into teaching to get an office and do paperwork. I got into teaching because I wanted to help kids and work with them. So I'm sure that goes along with your ideas as well. Your coach, Lee Callender, who's at State of Play Lee, says, when will you stop fining him for being nutmegged at training? And I have to ask, how often does this happen? Is this something that you guys try to do?
It happens quite a lot, and I am actually in charge of the fines, which I do enjoy. We have a fine list, and everyone is very aware of them, even if they pretend they're not. It goes towards our social for the end of the season, so it's just good fun. And I'm afraid nutmegging is one of them, and I'm afraid he is a bit of a victim of it at training.
Now, are these drills where he's participating, or he's standing there and you guys are doing it to him?
Oh, either or. we do try, but it's not just him. We try it with everyone, and if you're not aware and on the ball, then I'm afraid you're going to get the fine.
All right.
To be fair to Lee, he's also very good at paying his fine. So
do you?
Yeah.
I won't ask if you have other people who are not, because that's just I don't want to know.
No. I'm more than happy to go about fines. There are a fair few who are known to hold on to their fine money, but I do remind them that I will double it, and then eventually they will pay up.
All right.
I'm a good payer myself, so it's fine.
Yeah, and if everybody, it happens to everybody pays. It just works.
Yeah, and the fines they're a variation of things you can get fined for, and it's just good fun.
What are some of the other ones? Getting nutmegged, obviously one of them. What are some of the other things?
Doing something stupid or silly, being late, having dirty boots, scoring an own goal, like leaving an item of your clothing or your shin pads, your boots, whatever it may be.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of things. The girls would tell you anything that I decide is fine is a fine.
Yeah, well, you're the captain. You get to do that. If that is how it goes, and I doubt. I'm sure that you guys all came up with this beforehand. It's not just whatever you decide that day. So, Kirsty, who is your sponsor this year? I know each of the girls and the coaches they have a sponsor for the season to help kind of cover the cost of travel and everything else, training and things like that. Who is your sponsor this year?
My sponsor is a man called Adam. He is the kit man at AFC Tottenham at the stadium that we play at, and I'm sponsored by himself and his little girl who comes to watch each of our games. Very
awesome. Very awesome. And if anybody wants to get in touch and maybe sponsor the team or buy an advertisement, they can do so by contacting the team either on Twitter or getting in touch with your club secretary. And I'll put Amanda's email address down there in the show notes in case anybody is interested in doing that. And I think that kind of does it for my questions. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say while we're here?
No, I don't have any questions. Just thanks very much for giving me the opportunity and for raising awareness and giving Southampton women a bit of publicity. It's really good, and we all really appreciate it.
Oh, it is my pleasure, and I always tell people this whole kind of journey for me, the podcast and everything else has been a product of my kids wanting to play soccer or football, and me really having no idea how to do it or what it was about. And so over the past kind of, 4 years or so, I've been watching and learning. And anytime I can talk to anybody who plays or has played or coaches and can learn more about it, it's my pleasure. And I have a little girl who wants to play now. It's not just my son. So she, encouragement for her and all of these things is great.
Yeah, no, more the merrier. It's really good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. I have to tell you, you're the first female that I've ever had on the show. So thank you for being willing to do this.
Oh, amazing. Thanks so much for giving me the chance.
Yeah, I know. My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, but that pretty much does it for me. And I don't want to take up too much of your afternoon here. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
And you. Bye.
Bye. And that was my interview with Kirsty Bell, the captain of the Southampton Women's Football Club. I'd like to thank everybody involved in making this happen, including Kirsty, Lee Callender, one of their coaches, the club itself, club secretary Amanda Burrows. Everybody has been very, very helpful. I appreciate the opportunity to get to know members of the club and to be able to sit down and chat with them. I look forward to speaking with more members of the club in the future, and I hope that you look forward to hearing more about the club and the ladies who make the club so great. If you don't already support a local women's football club, consider heading out to the ground and supporting the ladies each and every Sunday as they take on their opponents. Additionally, players rely on the sponsorships of individuals and businesses around the Southampton area to help cover the cost of training, travel, and the other costs associated with playing for the club. If you are interested in sponsoring a player or a coach, please contact the club secretary, Amanda Burrows. Her email address is in the show notes below. Please remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the full episode of the podcast by searching Dellivery in any podcast app. There's also a link to the website in the show notes below. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. And until next time, remember that together, we march on.